Evening, everyone. For those of you just joining us, I would like to welcome you to the school board meeting. This is our business meeting in the Joe N. Idolette Jr. TEC. Today is Monday, November 13th, 2023. I would like to call this meeting to order. The time is 6 o'clock in the evening. I ask that out of respect for everyone, please silence all electronic devices at this time. Also, if you have any material you would wish to share with a board member, please give it to our executive assistant, Mrs. Morey. She's over here. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Fagan to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wait a second. Yeah, exactly. We gotta get. Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Pledge of Allegiance was led by Vero Beach High School Air Force Junior ROTC Detachment 43 under the direction of Major Retired Dean Rasdale and Senior Master Sergeant Retired Sean Rood. Thank you. At this time, board members, I'd like to call for the adoption of the orders of the day. Are there any items board members wish to move from consent to action?
I would.
Mrs. Rosario.
Item 7A, which is the approval of the 2023-2024 4.5% salary increase for all non-bargaining employees. To action.
Okay, anything else? Any other board members? No? All right, I'm going to call for a motion to accept the adoption of the orders of the day as amended.
I move for the adoption of the orders of the day as amended.
Dr. Jones, first.
Second.
Mr. Barefoot. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. All right, I'd like to recognize Dr. Moore for any presentations that you may have tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will begin by introducing to you our just announced Assistant Principal and Principal of the Year for the year 23-24. So Friday, we had the opportunity to surprise our Assistant Principal of the Year. We met in the lobby and we drove over to Vero Beach Elementary School where we had the opportunity to surprise Ms. Sarah Van Brimmer, who is the 23-24 Assistant Principal of the Year. Insert applause. It is always an honor to be selected in any system as the Assistant Principal of the Year or Principal of the Year. What makes this a little more special in our district is they're actually nominated and voted on by their peers. So not only is she representing us, it was her colleagues who are also assistant principals who said she's absolutely the next one to serve as Assistant Principal of the Year. So Ms. Sarah Van Brimmer, can you come up here? Let us applaud you. I'm going to ask Ms. Van Brimmer just to say a few words. We're going to give her a plaque. We gave her a plaque on Friday, but we forgot to sign it. So now we're giving her a signed plaque. So, Ms. Van Brimmer, the floor is yours.
Thank you so
just want to personally thank Ms. Van Bremer. She served as a quasi-principal when the principal was out on maternity leave. She's worked back-to-back summers ensuring that our Moonshot initiative is in place. Always a smile on her face, always willing to figure out how to get something done, and a true instructional leader. And that's what we need in a school system, instructional leader. So thank you and congratulations. And now for our Principal of the Year, which was a true treat. When we went to surprise this principal, we ended up in the courtyard, and the entire school was in the courtyard. So my first question is, how does a principal not know the entire school? Because she has the best AP ever. And if you ever needed to be reminded as to how powerful the role of principal is, all you have to do is see the love on the faces of the children as they shouted the principal's name. So Ms. Rachel Finnegan, can you come up here and be acknowledged as this year's Principal of the Year?
I'm deeply humbled and honored to be representing the School District of Indian River County as this year's Principal of the Year. A huge thank you to Sean O'Keefe for his nomination and to my colleagues for selecting me. As principals, we instructionally lead for the best interest of our students, our future. To me, being an educator is the most fulfilling career in the world, and I have 3 sitting in the audience today: Lucas, Lance, and Ella. So I'm so proud of you for being here this evening as well to support your brother who's speaking tonight, and Lance for your role in the community. This award is a true testament to the work of my administrative team, teachers, staff, students, families, and community partners. My school team's dedication, determination, and passion creates an educational environment where we all ride the wave of success together to support our students so they experience the best educational journey possible at Beachland. Thank you for this opportunity for me to represent a group of principals to spotlight our work, our enthusiasm, and our school team's achievements to be best by the children of Indian River County. Thank you.
Right in the middle.
Thank you.
Once again, just both Rachel and Sarah, outstanding leaders in our community. They go above, they go beyond, always willing to problem solve and figure out what needs to be done to be in service of our children. Just very excited for them. It's congratulations. Now we have to give you this big old packet, and you got to fill out all this extra stuff. And we look forward to you representing us at the state level. I think you both have outstanding opportunities to go to the next level. Our next presentation is on Veterans Day, and what you'll see is a slideshow that we'd like to just run through. So over the last several days, starting Thursday, Friday, and as well as today, our schools were very strategic in providing opportunities to connect our veterans to our students. And we had problem solved with our Veterans Association to make sure, how do we make sure that we really honor and connect our veterans on Veterans Day? So it was extremely powerful. Our veterans probably gained 15 pounds over the last 3 days because they had so many different either lunches or breakfasts to go to, and it was an opportunity to connect. And just so proud of our principals in being innovative and creative in celebrating our veterans. When I was at Gifford Middle School, I had the opportunity to run into Lucas Wu, who's a student on my student advisory superintendent's council. And while he was at the event for Gifford Middle School, he had the opportunity to read an essay that he wrote for a contest from VFW. We're still waiting on him to be announced as the winner, but the fact that I asked him to be here today, Signe, to read his poem, honestly, to inspire all of us, just by listening to his words that he put pen to paper and write down. As I listened to him, I was just so excited for what he stands for and how he put together this essay. So Lucas, if you can come up here and let us have it, we would greatly appreciate it.
Right there, Lucas.
Right on the podium.
Good evening. My name is Lucas Wu, and I'm a student at the Gifford Middle School. I would like to start by thanking the members of our wonderful school board, my principal, Dr. Bacon, and our superintendent, Dr. Moore. Thank you. During our English classes here at Gifford, each student was asked to craft an essay on how America inspires them. These essays were then entered into a national contest held by the Veterans of Foreign Wars organization. I would like to read to you my potentially winning submission. Yeah. There is no normal in America. There is no image of the absolute American. America's culture does not lie in its tradition or stereotype. It does not lie in the color of one's skin, the way of one's upbringing, or the similarities that two share. America is built upon a dream that somebody can be part of something bigger than themselves and pursue their own happiness in a shared empty canvas where no one picks the way that you want to live. This is why America inspires me. My father was born in Peru of Chinese descent. While his birthplace will always be in Peru, he never felt that he was as accepted there. Growing up in grade school, he was known to his peers as the Chinese kid. He did not fit the tight cookie-cutter mold of the stereotyped individual from that region. It was only when he came to America that he saw mixed people like him. They were being seen as themselves rather than some cultural exception to a mold meant to define a country. America's mold cannot be seen from the outside. Simply put, America's mold is what an individual holds closest to their heart. The values of capitalism, individualism, equality, and the will to make their dreams a success in a nation of dreamers. America's an empty canvas where you have the freedom to paint your own path and find others who share a similar vision like you. Now, while I hold this value of meritocracy extremely close to my heart, America also inspires me by the special calling it has to be a force for good around the world. America is a true model democracy for other countries that graciously receive our humanitarian and military assistance in times of need. Perhaps this balance between individualism and unity is what makes America so special. This balance is what it means to be an American, and more importantly, why America inspires me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Moore, for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
I don't know if our vote counts, but he wins. Yeah. And thank you for timing that perfectly with our slideshow. That was not planned.
Thank you, Lucas. We appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Did you know we were going to put music to
Hey, you know what? Why don't we make an exception? Why don't you come up here with us? You deserve it.
Would you like to chair the meeting?
Put him in the center. Great job.
Well done.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Awesome job.
Good job. Well done, Lucas.
So Lucas is like this all the time. He is one of these students who's on my superintendent's advisory council, and we have opportunities to meet 4 or 5 times a year. And this is his first year at Gifford Middle School on the council. And he came to the very first meeting when he found out he was going to serve on this committee with a full-on PowerPoint presentation where he set up, I'm not even exaggerating, at lunchtime asked students, what things do we at Gifford Middle School need to focus in on, because I'm going to go and meet with the superintendent. We met just last week, so I'll be going to his school to meet with the principal and a team of students that he's actually leading to bring about positive change at Gifford Middle School. So not only is in the classroom, So as you look at this room, it looks a little bit different for this meeting. We have yellow notes that are scattered throughout the entire room. Today is the National Day of Kindness, and we thought as a system, let's celebrate this by asking our students across our entire school system what kindness means to them. So what you see around you are the words of our children, K through 12, sharing their words of kindness. So as we move throughout the meeting today, and you're standing and waiting, please feel free to read some of those inspiring words. We are going to have a presentation on kindness. This is National Kindness Month, and I'm going to ask Rachel Story if you could come to, how did I do, okay on the last name? Pretty good? If she can come to the podium. Rachel is currently a senior at Vero Beach Senior High School. She is the founder and president of the school's student-led creative writing club that aims to provide a welcoming and inclusive environment for high school students to share their passion for creative writing. Even at a very young age, Rachel has always loved to write poetry and short fiction, and she hopes to inspire other teenagers to do the same. So to kick off our presentation on National Day of Kindness and kindness in our school system and around Indian River County, Rachel is going to kick us off with a poem that she wrote.
Hello, everybody. So going after that is just terrifying. When you run for president one day, I will vote for you. So happy National Kindness Day, everybody. To celebrate, I wrote a poem that's half about my mother's addiction to watching those inspirational speeches you see on Facebook, and half about how kindness is something everybody can give. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, you can always, always be kind. So this is my poem, To Be Human. My mother, upon hearing that I was asked to write a poem about kindness, urged me to watch a speech she had seen, where a man stepped up to the podium and said, "To be human is to be kind." But I disagreed. Surely kindness could not have come from the same source as the war-torn wasteland, as words regretted, as damage done, as the unforgiving fist of man. Kindness could not have been human. But I did not know where it had come from, so I rifled through the history books for an answer. And there it was, scribbled in the footnotes of humanity, in the first sign of civilization, a healed femur. Or in the volcanic ruins of Pompeii, the mold of a mother desperately shielding her child from death itself, or in the short phone calls from flights during 9/11, how every last message was 3 words long. And when I looked around, I saw a tired nurse visiting the lonely patient, and a single mother feeding hungry kids, and a phone call made to a faraway friend, a quick "how are you?" the 3-word message. So maybe that speaker was right, that to be human is to be kind. But what he did not mention was that there is no guaranteed kindness in great humanity. It is us who makes kindness human again. Thank you.
She's like, why didn't they let me come up here?
Be part of the team.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
So in order to set up this presentation around National Day of Kindness, we do have a video that we'd like to play right now.
As the School District of Indian River County celebrates World Kindness Day, students from the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council shared with us projects they have been working on to spread kindness in their schools and community.
We had a kindness project that we've been working on for the past few months, specifically throughout October, which is anti-bullying month. We wanted to just spread some love. The way that we came up with to do this is after we met with our principal, Mr. Cummings, we decided that we would hand out lollipops with affirmations connected to them to people, and it was a great way to get a lot of smiles. I think it was a really great way for people to just know that there are people out there who love them, and even though the world can seem like such a scary and hateful place sometimes, that there are definitely people who still have kind words for you, no matter who you are. It can sometimes be really challenging in such a busy world to find time to spread kindness, but it's such an important thing to do, and I'm really glad that we got that opportunity.
Our kindness project for the first quarter was to make a pledge to help people with ALS and any person or family afflicted by this disease. And we made this pledge on a poster and we brought it to one of our homecoming week events, and we had people sign it to basically pledge that they will be there in support of these people.
And then we also did the Day of Caring on Homecoming Week on October 21st, and we did a school beautification project.
For our kindness project, we did a Hawaiian Day because we did it on September 15th because September 16th was International Coastal Cleanup Day. So going along with that, everyone dressed up on Hawaiian Day. They paid $1, so then the fund goes to the school as well, and it spreads out to different clubs, I think. We had a lot of people participate, even teachers participate, which was great. Along with that, we passed it out like coastal cleanup papers, and we had students participate the next day in coastal cleanup to support the ocean and get all that nasty stuff out of the water. So life is too short not to be kind, and when you are kind, it makes the other person feel good and it makes you feel good. And the more kind you are, you get kindness back too. And it's just good to be kind.
Being kind is important because it's you never know what they're going through at home or personally. You just really never know.
During the last Superintendent's Student Advisory Council meeting, Rabbi Bernholz spoke to our students about spreading kindness and shared a new community-wide campaign.
We came up with Vero Beach Kind. How do we spread kindness in the community? And our first part of this messaging campaign is the Spread Sunshine Not Hate campaign. We have stickers, we have a website, we've been giving out cards. The perfect outcome would be to see lots of people wearing the t-shirt or having the sticker, but the perfect outcome would be to see more people. As much as we want it's to spread the campaign, but it's really to spread the value. To see that person, to be out in the community, and to see somebody in one of those moments of conflict or one of those moments of challenge, and to say, wait a second, to see them stop and pause and take that breath and say, I don't want to live in the world that way.
So in creating the Superintendent's Advisory Council, I asked our secondary principals to give me the leaders, give me the individuals who have influence over the students. And the intent really is to work with them to create and refine their leadership skills, but at the same time, focus their work on creating a positive culture in their school. During our first meeting, we came to the consensus that we're going to focus in on kindness at each of our secondary schools. So what you saw in that video was our second meeting for the second 9 weeks, the second quarter of the year. It did take place. Those students had the sneak peek of the new media center at Sebastian River Senior High School, which we are going to unveil next Thursday. At Wednesday? This Wednesday. It's Wednesday. But I would encourage you to come. It is state of the art. There is everything those students would want to get them into that space. It's beautiful, but that's Wednesday's presentation. That was the opportunity for them to refine, problem solve, and design what their activities are going to be for the second 9 weeks. So to see this intentionality around kindness spreading against all of our secondary schools was just an absolutely rewarding experience. Now, the rabbi was mentioned in the presentation, and as I am working with our students, he is working in the community along the same vein to continue to shine a light on kindness. And I asked him not only to come and speak to students who are sharing the effort around kindness, But I would ask Rabbi Bocaldi, if you can come up here and just give us a few words regarding the work that you're doing in our community, which is 100% aligned to the work that our students are doing in our schools. I would greatly appreciate it.
And you will notice the fine fashion statement that we are making with our shirts. And I have to say, wait, you had to offer your beautiful poem after you offered your beautiful essay. Now I've got to come up here and follow the two of you. How awesome and how incredible that is. Last month I stood at this podium to offer and acknowledge a proclamation for Holocaust Education Week. And last year, my family and I, my wife is a teacher here in Indian River Schools. My 3 children all grew up here in the school district. We had the opportunity to go on a family trip to Europe. We found ourselves in Heidelberg, Germany. And one of the things that we were interested to see if we would find are something called stumble stones. They're these little bricks that are inset into the sidewalk and say a Jewish family lived here, a Jewish family was taken away during the Holocaust. This is where that act of hatred happened, and remember, a Jewish family was here. And we were walking through Heidelberg, and we looked all over, and we didn't see one until we were walking back to the apartment where we were staying. And there, at the house next door to where we were staying, happened to look down onto the sidewalk and got a little glint of metal in the dark, and turned on my flashlight on my phone, and there happened to be a stumble stone. Of all of the places, in all of the miles we walked, it was the house next door to where we were staying that had that monument, that memory, and said a Jewish family had lived here and were victims of the Holocaust. Now, I will say that as I saw that, my wife and I were crying at that point of all of the places that place of brokenness and loss and memory. We were on the train the next day, and we looked a little closer at the plaque, and we were quite surprised that it didn't just say that they were taken away to a concentration camp. It did then say they escaped a year later and went to Switzerland, which was the route my family took. So it was this really incredible experience. I share that with you because here I am a month later, getting to talk about kindness. And just like we were walking around Europe saying, do we see that stumble stone, that reminder of this was the place where the Holocaust, that act of senseless violence to an incredible degree happened? Here, this month, I get to spread sunshine and not hate. How incredible is that? It was amazing to hear from the superintendent that the Student Advisory Council is working on kindness projects. Even after a rash of anti-Semitic literature, I had reached out to the wider community and said, do other people want to stand up against hate? And not just stand up against hate, but spread kindness, to spread sunshine, to bring the positive as much as we stand up to the negative. And so many, if you start looking around the room, so many people have come forward and said, we want to be part of this. And what we offer to this community, what we bring here to our school district is not another organization and more presentations. It's a messaging campaign. Just like we were looking for those stumble stones, how powerful it is for all of us, whether it's with stickers, whether it's with t-shirts, whether it's with hats, whether it's with little cards, can put those messages of spreading sunshine, not hate, out into our world. And it's more than just the message, it's a sign and a reminder as people meet you, that's the value you're carrying into the world. But more important, and echoing so beautifully in your poem, which was absolutely incredible, is how hard the work of kindness is. We have been finding, and I have some absolutely amazing and incredible partners. They send me up to be the spokesperson for all of this. But I assure you, there are a lot of people spreading sunshine and not hate. How surprising it is to us that it's not about telling someone else to be kind. It's about reminding ourselves to be kind. When we have those moments, and you heard it in the video, of conflict and challenge. It's a beautiful interview with Stephen Inskeep on NPR, and he's been reporting on what's been happening with Israel and with Gaza. And he was talking with one of his neighbors. She was a typical soccer mom. She was Jewish. She grew up here. She has family in Israel. And one of her relatives is one of the hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th. So she was very sensitive. She was out at a soccer game. How many of us have been to Indian River Soccer Association on a Saturday morning to watch soccer? So many of us. We have been in those spaces, and somebody was saying something that really upset her, something that was anti-Israel, and she went over to give him a piece of her mind. And she found herself at her children's soccer game. They're cursing and angry and frustrated, and she stopped herself. She took a step back and she said, wait a second, that's not what I want to bring into the world. That's the hate that I want to stand up to. And she went over to the people and she apologized. She said, that's not what we want to bring in the world. She showed the picture of her relative and said, this is why I'm so upset. And it turned out that the father, who was the most vitriolic, was actually from Lebanon. And he was then telling her his story. They had to stop and listen to each other. They ended up in tears and hugging with each other. It doesn't fix all of the problems in the world. It doesn't end war. It doesn't take care of everything. But how many of those interactions where we're reminded to spread sunshine, not hate, that we're reminded to stop and listen to each other, stop and give each other space, stop and take care of each other, do that powerful work of bringing out the kindness of our humanity? How many of those things can we do here in the school district of Indian River County, in our whole community of Indian River County, to really start to change the world? And so we come with a challenge. We also come, I think, with baseball caps for the school board to see how far we can not just spread the message, but spread the value to give people a way to stop and act differently in our challenging world, in these challenging times, to really spread sunshine and not hate, and make Vero Beach and all of Indian River County a place of real kindness. So thank you so much for this invitation. And wear these hats proudly, and wear them in good health, and wear them with lots of kindness in your heart.
Thank you. Get them a picture now.
Yes.
Should we wear a hat?
Heck yeah. I'm throwing my hat on.
Oh. Wait a minute.
Good job.
Where was he gonna get on Barefoot's head, but it looks like it.
I have some hair, you don't.
I know.
Let's not go there. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So our next presentation, I'm actually going to take item C before item B. It's going to be a tough one. The first conversation I ever had with this individual was when he came up, introduced himself, and told me, you know, my name is Mr. Ron Fagan. I'm your Chief Financial Officer. He had been here for about a month and a half maybe before I got here, and he says, for every dollar we receive from the state of Florida, we're spending about $1.37. We are in grave danger. But as a result of his leadership, his unwavering commitment, to put the needs of children in front of all other things. Grit, determination, the will to work until it is absolutely right. Mr. Fagan has led the way to improve all of our financial ratings from negative to positive. We are in a place where we have the highest fund balance in the history of our school district. We're just 4 years ago, we were on the verge of financial bankruptcy. Mr. Fagan is a problem solver. Mr. Fagan is a true leader, a man of integrity. And when you do great things, people notice. They notice the commitment, the stability of our school system. So bigger districts that got more money come in and get you to come back home. One of the most interesting things, not most, but inspiring things about Mr. Fagan, in some ways I feel like I had to push him to go because of his commitment to this community. But ultimately, they're acknowledging Mr. Fagan. Mr. Fagan will be leaving us and returning to Duval counties, where he will serve as a chief financial officer for, I think, for the 20th largest nation and the 20th largest school district in the nation. And that says something to Mr. Fagan's skills and ability. So this is going to be hard, but your staff is going to read a proclamation for you.
Proclamation in honor of Ronald A. Fagan. November 13th, 2023, in appreciation for his service to our district. Whereas Mr. Fagan has served as the Chief Financial Officer for the School District of Indian River County since July 15th, 2019. And whereas Mr. Fagan had a profound focus on increasing the level of fiscal transparency with the budget process and financial reporting.
And whereas Mr. Fagan introduced and implemented the staff allocation model to provide informed, equitable, focused, adaptable, and responsible budgeting of staff at each school site to provide resources to meet the needs of all children at that location. And whereas Mr. Fagan was instrumental in the upgrade in our Standard & Poor's rating from AA minus negative to AA minus stable, and maintained our ratings of A1 stable and A plus stable for Moody's and Fitch respectively. And
whereas Mr. Fagan provided leadership for the one-to-one student laptop initiative for every student K-12. And whereas Mr. Fagan developed financial strategies that increased our fund balance to $26 million at the end of 2023. And
whereas Mr. Fagan negotiated single-year vendor contracts into multi-year agreements protecting the school district in a volatile and ever-changing market. And whereas Mr. Fagan identified and implemented enhancements regarding key processes for internal controls and accounting procedures. And
whereas Mr. Fagan, in collaboration with district bargaining units and district leadership, was able to provide for pay increases for all employee groups. Now, therefore, the School Board of Indian River County hereby proclaims November 13, 2023 as Ronald A. Fagan Day, adopted this 13th day of November, 2023.
So you expect me to follow that? So it's a bittersweet decision that I did leave, but I've enjoyed every moment here. My team is outstanding and incredible. It's a wonderful place to live and work. Not only did I get to be the CFO, but I got to dress up as Papa Smurf one time. I dressed up as the Monopoly banker. And I got dressed up like a turkey outside for some reason. I can't remember why, but Thanksgiving Day luncheon, thank you. So not only did I enjoy myself tremendously, but I hope I was able to make a positive contribution. Even though this publication has my name on it, it really belongs right to you.
Are you going to make him take a picture with us?
All right, he's got to get the hugs in.
All right. Can I? Can we respond
Oh, absolutely.
before he comes up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How'd you change your shirt? I'm just kidding.
We had jackets.
Hold the march.
Yep. That's everyone.
Yeah. Like the entire cabinet.
Certainly have.
Get in the middle, Ron.
Okay, everyone, can you just shift over to your left, please, about 3 or 4 steps? Keep going. Mr. Fagan, let's put you in the middle, okay?
Monkey in the middle.
One more over.
There you go. Okay. All right, ready? 1, 2, and 3. Awesome. Now can we get Cabot to take a photo with Mr. Fagan? Right. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Seymour will
Dr.
present.
Moore?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I remember how the district was before, or at least the department was before you came. And I don't know who in the world cries reading a proclamation over the work of finances. And how well you managed our budget, and then there are tears. That is not about the money. It's not about the numbers. That's about the love and the care and the attention that you have given to each and every person that you have come into contact with. Everyone. For me, I didn't work with you on a daily basis, but when I did, it felt as if it was every single day. Your tonight celebrating kindness couldn't have come at a more perfect time. You are the exemplary of kindness. You are going to be missed terribly. Most people don't know that we really didn't have such a great relationship with our charters. Our charter schools, before you came along, and you have managed to even close the gap there and mend fences where I get incredible, I've shared this with Dr. Moore, incredible compliments over how professional and how kind and how willing you are to work with them and to build relationships. And I cannot say any more wonderful things. You are going to be missed. You are loved. Your department, I know how much they're going to miss you. You've turned that department into just a functioning department surviving to a family. I mean, even to the point of walking with them during lunch. That, to me, is a leader. That's a servant leader. So congratulations. Our loss is their gain, but you will be missed terribly.
Okay, anyone else?
You just exemplify when you establish a relationship and make that connection, everything is just a little bit easier because of the personal connections. And thank you for your service.
Okay. We're going to vote on the proclamation, but before that, Ron, before you came, it was, I was just on the board and we were going through all kinds of things. And one thing we were going through a lot of was the financial issues. I appreciate everything being cleaned up. But I appreciate how much you brought that team together. I would walk into that space and see a lot of really sad people. And now I see people that are sad because you're leaving. They're sad again, Ron. Darn you. But I know that you've left your imprint here, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you, and we wish you well. So at this time, we'd like to do our vote for the proclamation. I don't have the actual vote here, but we'll wing it. So I'd like call for a motion for the proclamation.
Second.
So moved. Dr. Pasca and Dr. Jones. All those in favor with a resounding yes, say.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
You won't get to dress up like you did here in Duval. So now I'd like to Mr. Teskey and Mr. Seymour to present the resolution of the adoption of the statewide mutual aid agreement.
Right before Mr. Teskey, I'd just like to say too, this is a vet. He gave his speech today, Veterans Day, in uniform, and we got to give him a round of applause. In addition to that, while he started his speech, if you know what jets are, if you pay a lot of money for these, 2 F-22 Raptors flew over at the exact same time. That was big. Thank you.
He coordinated it.
Yeah. I wish I could say they were there just for me, but they were there for all veterans at Storm Grove. Mr. Taylor and his staff did a wonderful job today for Veterans Day, but that'll be one for the record books. I don't think we'll ever top that one. So good evening. Mr. Seymour and I would like to share the resolution for the adoption of the statewide mutual aid agreement. I don't think either one of us will be crying during this proclamation. That's a tough act to follow, but we'll do our best because it is very important. It does allow us outreach with the state and other districts to come to each other's aid in times of need for natural disasters and hurricanes. And we're very close to exiting hurricane season, so we will keep our fingers crossed that we do not have to utilize this. For the resolution for adoption of the statewide mutual aid agreement, resolution number 2024-07, whereas the State of Florida Emergency Management Act, Chapter 252, authorizes the state and its political subdivisions to provide emergency aid and assistance in the event of a disaster or emergency, and
whereas the statutes also authorize the state to coordinate the provision of any equipment, services, or facilities owned or organized by the state or its political subdivisions by use in the affected area upon the request of the duly constituted authority of the area, and
whereas this resolution authorizes the request, provision, and receipt of interjurisdictional mutual assistance in accordance with the Emergency Management Act, Chapter 252, among political subdivisions within the state, and
now therefore be it resolved, the School Board of Indian River County, that in order to maximize the prompt, full, and effective use of resources of all participating governments in the event of an emergency or disaster, we hereby adopt the statewide mutual aid agreement, which is attached hereto and incorporated by reference.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. So we have a resolution for adoption of statewide mutual aid agreement number 2024-07. I need a motion to approve.
A motion, please.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We pass this 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. That concludes presentations.
Okay. At this time, we are to citizen input, 3A, guidelines for citizen input. Each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will be recognizing in order to which the requests were received. The time shall start when the speaker is at the podium, and the public information officer, no, the attorney, will be the official timekeeper. Oh, you are the official timekeeper? Okay. Switching that up. Here we go. As you see, the time clock is visible to the our left of the dais, your left of the dais, and you will hear a beep at the end of your 3 minutes. Each person may speak for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of a business meeting during citizen input as indicated on the order of business, and for up to 3 minutes to each action agenda item during the action agenda, and each board member discussion item as indicated on the order of business. If a consent item is moved to action item, when you come up to the podium, you may speak at that time or defer to speak during the presentation of the action item. People may only speak once about any given item. The time period may be extended by the presiding officer. Only the individual submitting the speaker's form is allowed to address the board. Time may not be yielded to other speakers. During the meeting, please refrain from clapping or outbursts of any sort so that we may proceed with dignity and decorum by not infringing on any individual's First Amendment rights, and to be kind. I need to remind everyone to direct all comments to the chair, not to individual board members or to the superintendent. Board members may or may not address any citizen input statements at the end of the citizen input comments. As board members listen to citizens without interruption, citizens are asked to give board members the same respect. As per Florida Statute 1001.372, subsection 3, the presiding officer of any district school board may order the removal from a public meeting held by the district school board of any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer has first issued a warning that continued interference with the orderly processes of the meeting will result in removal. The first warning is to everyone at this time. I will be calling you up 2 at a time. The first person will be called to the podium to speak. The second person will be in line behind that. The speaker shall not engage in personal attacks or abusive language, please. The chair has the right to terminate any speaker's privilege to address the board if this rule is violated. If you have anything to give to board members or the superintendent, please do so through our executive assistant, Mrs. Moray. It is clear that the board has taken action to comply with the law regarding instructional materials, including library books. If you are here to express your opinion regarding HB 1069 on materials in school libraries, we would ask that you visit staff in the lobby to initiate the challenge process. Finally, the school district supports First Amendment rights of speakers and rights outlined in HB 1069 regarding library materials. As such, some individuals may choose to exercise these rights, which may include reading material with language or content that is not appropriate for all audiences. Knowing this, please make a viewing decision appropriate for you and your family. All right, at this time, I'd like to call up the first speaker and call the second name as well. Valerie Brandt Wilson is first speaker, and Christina Simmons is on deck.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for allowing me to speak. Today, I, Valerie Brandt Wilson, stand before you as NAACP Parental Rights Committee Chair and a proud member of Eta Eta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We, along with our members, students, and parents, ask that this body not adopt American history standards that teach Black Americans benefited from slavery. As a direct descendant of enslaved people, we find this statement offensive and a mockery of what our ancestors had to endure to gain their civil rights in a country where the preamble and the Constitution have merit. In 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 7, Individuals' Freedom, into law, which restrict how topics of race can be discussed in K through 12 classroom. The law requires African American history instruction not to be used to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view. As parents and community members, we do not want our students to learn false information. We only want factual history and books that allow our students to think. Today, we also ask this body not to allow the members of Mom for Liberty to dictate how education is taught in our schools, especially on banning books and how African American history is taught. On October the 23rd, 2023, I sat behind Jennifer Pippin. She proudly wore a t-shirt that said, "I don't want government co-parenting with me." Ms. Pippin, we don't want you co-parenting with our parents. The word public means that it's accessible to all people. This means an open invitation to learn in the educational system with diverse environments where children come from single parent, two parents, same-sex, Jewish, Italian, Irish, Hispanic, Vietnamese, Chinese, Native American, Latino, and yes, Black American homes. The word public also means having an open view, respect to tolerance to all people. To respect all people, and the teaching environment must allow all books to be used in the curriculum in a controlled climate, open to various opinions. Students want to learn AP American history should not be denied this right. Students who wish to understand the Dred Scott decision and why enslaved people were denied the rights to read and write must be taught in a factual context. Do you know that learning to read and write was considered an act of resistance for Black Americans? Like today, Black Lives Matter is regarded as a form of resistance. If the I'm out of time. Florida is ranked number 2 in the nation in books banning. The law allows only one parent to inhibit the ability of the student to learn.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, Christina Simmons is next. Elyria Lester is on deck.
Good evening to the board and Superintendent Moore. Thank you for allowing me to address the board today because I strongly believe that our students deserve to know their history. There are many who refuse to acknowledge that racism, bias, and inequity exists. Teaching should always teach the truth and history of America. These include the history of all people and the injustices that many faced and continue to face. Are we truly teaching our history if we choose to leave parts of it out? Slavery will never be perceived as a benefit to the African American people, but it is part of American history. Too many Black people suffered, died, and sacrificed their lives for the true story of history not to be told. African American history is about more than slavery. But it encompasses tremendous challenges, contributions, and accomplishments, and experiences that should never be overlooked or forgotten. Slavery benefited the slave owners, not the slave. Students such as myself should be educated about the true experience of African American people because it is part of the foundation of America. To conclude, students deserve to know our history. Knowledge about our past and the history of this country, good and bad, is power. The power to understand and create change. The knowledge that includes appropriate curriculum and lessons, focus on historical figures, events, and the impact. Knowledge that also includes social-emotional learning, empathy, and self-awareness. We must teach the truth of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Elyria Lester is next, and Jeff, is it Leak or Leaky? Sorry if I mispronounce names.
Good evening to the superintendent and the board. African American for me, what does that mean? You see my skin color, and here I am speaking to each of you. I honor those who have made the sacrifices before me so that I can be here to stand in front of you this evening, a straight A student at Vero Beach High School. Please take a moment to consider this. If this curriculum is approved, children like me will learn that slaves benefited from being enslaved. This is an extremely offensive remark that could lead to conflict in the classroom and within society. Slavery had a significant impact on history and helped to form modern-day America. We deserve to learn the truth. Did slavery benefit the slaves? No. Being kidnapped, transported, bought, sold, enslaved, beaten, raped, castrated, lynched, sharecropped, Jim Crowed, and disenfranchised did not benefit the slaves. We had money systemically robbed from us during slavery when brutally racist oppressors violently forced us to labor 365 days a year without any financial compensation whatsoever, from 1619 to 1865. Slavery was the engine that propelled Europe's and its American colonies to rise to power. Slavery helped finance the Industrial Revolution. Moreover, as documented by the Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History, by 1840, the South grew 60% of the world's cotton and provided some 70% of the cotton consumed by the British textile industry. Thus, slavery paid for a substantial share of capital, iron, and manufactured goods that laid the basis for American economic growth. David Blight, an American history professor at Yale University, revealed that by 1860, there were more millionaires living in the lower Mississippi Valley than anywhere else in the United States. In the same year, the nearly 4 million African American slaves were worth some $3.5 billion, making them the largest single financial asset in the entire U.S. economy, worth more than all manufacturing and railroads combined. If we lose the history of slavery, what other parts of history will vanish in the future? A curriculum that claims that slavery was beneficial to slaves is conceited, idiotic, and inconsiderate. I hope that all in this room, especially the board, will support students like me. Teaching the history of our country includes everyone's history. Let's focus on creating equitable and healthy learning communities where every student feels seen, validated, and acknowledged. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jeff, is it Leak or Leaky?
Silent E.
Okay, Leak. And Gregory Ross is on deck.
Thank you and good evening, and what a great way to kind of start out American Education Week, which is what the first day that we're in right now. Honoring students' determination to learn, recognizing the professionalism and dedication of our teachers, support staff, and other educators, and thanks parents and members of the community who help students succeed and rededicates the community at large to quality public education for every student. I want to thank all the educators and support staff here in Indian River County for their dedication to helping students learn and for broadening student horizons, even as others seem to delight in making that task ever more difficult. Speaking of dismantling public education, there's the planned Karenhood, with all the censorship and none of the liberty. According to an analysis by Media Matters, Moms for Liberty benefits financially from right-wing funding and ties to political figures who work day and night to create confusion and distrust in our public schools, deepen divisions among parents, and make it more challenging for schools to educate students. We know that book bans and censorship violate the principles of free speech. We know that extreme positions targeting children for exclusion and bullying are unacceptable. Concerned citizens and parents must do everything they are able to do to stop the extremists whose real aim is to remove literature from school libraries, dismantle public education, and impose their worldview on others, true indoctrination. Let's take heart and learn from the election activities that led to success last Tuesday, when voters in 5 out of 6 states stood up against the extremists, voted them out of office, and elected real public education advocates. Join with others who oppose M for L. 2 possibilities to keep you informed: Stop Moms for Liberty or Moms Against Moms for Liberty, 2 organizations that are out there as concerned as I am about what's happening with Moms for Liberty. Don't wait for the next election cycle. Get involved now. Step up to protect real public education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Gregory Ross and Cindy Gibbs is on deck.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am here this evening once again to address this Board and the citizens in this room on the extremism, bigotry, and hate that has raised itself in this county from the slime that is Christian nationalism. I am here once again to provide support and goodwill to the school board members, faculty, and staff of the School District of Indian River County who are pushing back against the ignorance of a vocal minority. I'm here once again to encourage the reasonable members of this board and the real patriots in this room to continue doing what you do in the face of evangelical extremism. And what is it you are doing? What is the action I speak of? Simply, it is doing the right thing. So I say to you, when extremists demand to ban books to push their religious biases, do the right thing and reject this attempt to rule by religion and discrimination. When racists demand to remove consideration of diversity, equity, and inclusion from school policies, do the right thing and reject this attempt to return to the days of Jim Crow. When authoritarians demand to arm teachers in schools, do the right thing and reject their attempts to normalize weapons in schools. When bigots demand to segregate ESE and LGBTQ students from their classmates and friends, do the right thing and reject their attempts to divide us as a community. When extremists demand to ignore public health measures, do the right thing and reject their attempt to weaken us as a society and put others at risks. When racists demand to remove relevant and accurate statements about racism from textbooks, do the right thing and reject their attempt to belittle the experiences of minorities in America. When authoritarians demand that underserved students be removed from public schools and sent to alternative learning centers, do the right thing and reject the attempts to return to the days of segregation. When fascists rally around parental rights, do the right thing and reject their attempts to lower educational standards to the lowest common denominator. Lastly, when you are faced with political pressure to do the wrong and immoral things the extremists push for, remember this: their influence and day in the spotlight will pass, as can be seen across this great nation during the recent election. Extremist candidates endorsed by Moms for Liberty, Moms for America, and the 1776 Foundation were widely denounced by the electorate on November 7, 2023. The turning of the tide is here. Hope, reason, logic, and empathy is present in public education here in Indian River County, though it is harder to see. Soon, it will return to the forefront of public education over the hate, ignorance, and irrationality of these extremist groups. To all of you real patriots listening, keep doing the right thing. I and many others support you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ross. Cindy Gibbs, next speaker. Debbie Padnick is on deck.
Good evening. If you were very ill and were seeking a doctor to treat you and heal you, would you want the doctor who just showed up occasionally on a per diem status, or do you want the highly educated, highly qualified doctor? Of course, you want the leader in their field with the latest proven information and methods to help you to get back on your feet. We've lost 8 teachers to resignation in the last several weeks. How many students does that affect? How many kids with special needs does that affect? Are substitute teachers briefed on IEPs and learning plans for the kids in their classes? How many of our kids could reach their highest academic potential if only someone at school cared enough about them as a person to get them there? Instead, when teachers are leaving, as they are doing frequently these days, we take the good teachers and we move them to the higher achieving classrooms and leave the lower achieving kids with substitutes, sometimes a different teacher every day for weeks at a time. Who is writing these lessons? Who is checking in on these classrooms? We need to remember that even in the midst of Power BI and data-driven results, we are teaching children, living, breathing people who deserve to be treated as such and not as statistics on spreadsheets. While we're on the topic of humanitarian assistance, let's talk about lunch. How can we make sure that every kid who needs one gets a hot lunch at school? Are we making adequate attempts to get kids who need it signed up for free or reduced price lunch? I've heard that there's a new fund forming in the memory of our beloved teacher, Tim Fiala, whose family wants to be sure kids who don't have the money don't get stuck with the dry cheese sandwich that nobody wants. Trust me, they throw it out. Is it possible to get a system in place that bridges the gap between a kid lacking a free or reduced price lunch and a hot tray of food, and not in front of the cash register when all of their peers are standing around them? I'm aware that the cafeterias are a for-profit system, but hungry kids can't learn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Debbie Padnick is next. Angela Bowling is on deck.
Hi, I'm a grandmother of 2 young women in the Indian River County school system, and I have opinions. What this messaging campaign that I thank you for presenting tonight, Vero Beach Be Kind, is about reminding me to express those opinions with respect and to listen to others. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to do that tonight and to spread sunshine and stop hate. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Bowling and Anthony Brown is on deck.
Hello, everybody. I am a member of the American Association of University Women and a proud new member of the NAACP. Also, a proud parent of 4 children who graduated through our public school system at Vero Beach High School. After our September 25th school board meeting, I felt inspired by some of the comments that were made by the school board members, and I wrote a letter to each of the members with a suggested letter that could possibly be agreed upon by all the board members to send off to the State Board of Education, expressing your concerns about the African American history standards, especially the one that has gotten the most focus and disagreement with. I only heard back from one of the board members, and so I came tonight to re-ask that you agree upon a letter that could be sent to that, to agree to send off to the Board of Education and our governor. Quoting one of the members from September 25th, it was said, "The truth is that none of the people who wrote this standard want it taught in schools that slavery is beneficial, and no one on this board wants it either, and we're not going to let it be taught in our schools that slavery was a positive thing for anybody." I have a hard time reading the benchmark clarification in question that says, "Instruction includes how slaves developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for their personal benefit." I can't read that and think that it's not saying that slaves sometimes got personal benefit out of the instruction that the skills that they were developing as slaves. So since you all seem to agree on that statement that they didn't, that you don't want to say that they benefited from slavery, please reconsider writing a letter together. The board members who perhaps have not already sent a letter off to the Board of Education could construct a letter. You could use the one that I suggested to you as a model and then agree to that, because we really do need to support our African American students and help them be seen and heard and supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Brown is next, and David Flint is on deck.
Good evening, Board. Anthony Brown. Tonight, I'm once again conflicted. Through the chair, I know the superintendent understands that there are many documents that our students' parents have to sign that they are beholding to, that they have to abide by or they'll be expelled, discipline contracts and other things. My confliction is that board members, you signed an ethics agreement that you're not living up to. That sends a bad message, being that you are custodial, have custodial care of our children. You too must be responsible. Another thing is African American standards. Something in it is good, but the majority is bad. So don't throw the baby out with the bath, whatever. But I want to go somewhere where you have Parents' Bill of Rights, in banning books. Among you are some board members who are adamant about banning books. So I would go into Parents' Bill of Rights and use it to help us understand how it can be used for us as African Americans. If you're going to ban books, I say start with Thomas Jefferson. I would implore all African American females, when anything with Thomas Jefferson is brought up, to go to their principals and say they're offended. Any women. Thomas Jefferson kept Sally Heming, a child, in the basement for his sexual pleasures. A child, an African American child. He exploited her, he was a pedophile, he was a sexual predator. So when you're reading books, if we're gonna ban anything, let's start with anything relative to Thomas Jefferson. He was no good, but I guess because we didn't have any worth and Sally Heming was a slave and she was property, I guess it didn't really mean anything. But when you go down this road of banning books, be careful, because we're gonna use, as has already been done, these tactics that Parents' Bill of Rights are using. We're reading them, we're getting an understanding of them, and we're gonna flip them right back on you, because I'm gonna tell all the black children, go to the principal and say, I'm offended, and they have their book removed. So be careful how you move forward in addressing the needs of African Americans. These two beautiful young ladies who came up here, if you didn't hear them, I feel sad for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. David Flint is next. Thomas Kenny is on deck.
Good evening, school board members. Chairperson Barenborg, thank you again for your willingness to serve. Congratulations. We appreciate your service. My name is David Flint. I'm a father of multiple children currently enrolled here in schools in Indian River County. Today is November 13th, World Kindness Day. You guys already figured that out. The first World Kindness Day was celebrated on this day in 1998. World Kindness Day is to highlight good deeds in the community, focusing on the positive power and the common thread of kindness. Kindness is a fundamental part of the human condition and bridges the divide of race, religion, politics, gender, and location. The theme for this year is Be Kind Wherever Possible. Kindness is the act of being kind, deliberately doing good for others. The word kindness is rooted in various different tongues in different ways, has been taught for thousands of years. Kindness appears in the Bible over 200 times. It's mentioned in the Quran over 100 times. Buddha exhorts kindness through the wish towards all people. In gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease or at peace. The word literally translates as loving kindness, to care for, to be a blessing for others. It's a primary ethical virtue in Judeo-Christian teachings. Kindness teaches us to lift up each day, to make that day special by performing acts of kindness for others. Even those that do not practice faith, even those who have no spirituality, know kindness when they see it. We've talked a lot about what kindness is in the proclamations and a little bit of history here, but what I see going on in the community right now is opportunities where kindness could be served and it's not. When I see books being banned on the basis of CRT when they're not books containing CRT, when I see posts being made on social media that are supposedly satire, trying to be funny, and even after being made of how deeply offensive they are, no apologies, no taking it down, but doubling down on the hate. We need to do better. We need to stop attacking marginalized communities. There's no law against kindness, against goodness, or against love. So my plea today for this board is to stop accepting the bigotry from a few small-minded community members who would rather espouse hate than kindness.
Thank you. Thomas Kenny is next. Michael Marsh is on deck.
Thomas Kenny, Policy and Media for Moms for Liberty, on Kindness Day being called a hate group. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about any of this stuff because there's other important things. You guys had today a discussion about a DSO and starting a foundation here at the school. I want to speak to that because it sounds like a great idea. We have a $370 million to $400 million school system starting a foundation to raise funds. That sort of concerns me. And here's why. In Michigan, there are a lot of DSOs in their school districts, and Kellogg managed to give them $31 million and moved a bureaucracy in and totally transformed how schooling was done. There was an issue today about being specific or general. And the person, Ms. Knupp, the director of development, said, you know, the Gates Foundation might not want to give you money if you're being specific. Well, that's because a lot of these foundations don't do it with altruistic intent. They do it to superimpose what they believe you should teach, or how you should teach, or why you should teach, which removes government because it becomes very bureaucracy central. It removes the government of the school system from the locality. And so we have issues like that here in our county already on much smaller scale than, say, the Gates Foundation, through institutions like the Learning Alliance. I want to pass this out to you guys real quick. If you could pause my time, I forgot to give this.
Thank you. Thank you, Tori.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Onsberger, I don't have a paper for you. What you have in front of you is on top, you have the third grade FLDOE ELA scores for our school district. And on the bottom, you have 3 through 5. And at the very bottom, you have 2003. I managed to get some of these because I've been looking at some of the stuff regarding the desegregation order. We have yet to return to where we were in 2003. The highest that we've received here in third grade is a 60, last year 58, our last recorded year, which is 21-22. We haven't gotten 22-23. But what's really bugging me is level 5. It's losing points, 9 to 6. It's going down. Level 4, a little bit stagnant. It went up to a high of 23, back down to 20. We're all focused on average here in our school district. We need to be focused on getting the work done and making excellence a priority.
Thank you. Mr. Marsh, after that is May Asensio.
Good evening. Boy, as tough as it is, I had to change my whole speech. And I tell you, boy, it is God from above, because tonight I want to talk about sunshine violations and where my check was, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to send an email later on. Kindness. Kindness is when a local attorney, Ms. Chestnut, wakes up on Christmas morning to make sure those marginalized kids that we talk about have Christmas. Kindness is when the Hope for Family Center doesn't close at 5 p.m. because that family has to wait until Monday to seek shelter. Kindness is when our friends at Kona Ice make sure we have to-go plates for 1,100 meals that we will do on Thanksgiving Day. Kindness is Dunkin' Donuts saying, you got a couple felonies, I'm going to give you another chance. Kindness is when the Indian River County Sheriff's Office has goats. Yes, there's goats at the jail. Kindness is when Captain Jones says, these inmates need clothes when they get out. Kindness is the Salvation Army when they open up their kitchen so we can prepare those 1,100 meals. Kindness is when Community Church opens up their kitchen so we can feed the entire Indian River County. Kindness is when my friend Shayla from Treasure Coast Girls Coalition says, let's do 500 burgers at the shelter and make sure all kids get a little snack on Halloween. Kindness is when my buddy Dale Rivers in the Vero Beach Police Department comes out on Thanksgiving Day and Christmas. Kindness is when my buddy Michael Page from the Indian River Shore said, can you just sit down somewhere and form a charity before they kill you? That's funny for many. Kindness is when on Valentine's Day, your director of transportation says, let's recognize these amazing bus drivers and everyone over there at transportation. Kindness is when those individuals at Boys and Girls Club sees that there's a need for some kids and makes sure they have it. Kindness is when Love to Serve makes sure there's clothing for all these kids throughout the county. Kindness is when Rosie Stubbs from Recycling Club makes sure these teachers don't go in their pocket when these kids need school supplies. Kindness is Adam from Orc Services to make sure that Turkey Bowl gives out thousands of meals. Kindness is when OTG Liquidation says, here's some soap to make sure the homeless have something to put on their hands. Kindness, School District of Indian River County, through the chair, is when Dr. Morris says, let's have a thankful day of service. That will be this Friday. Kindness is when board members and assistant superintendent come to a golf tournament to support domestic violence victims. Kindness is when Dr. D'Elia from Island Pediatrics saw this single dad in need in 2016 and said, let's supply Christmas to those beautiful interracial queens on the back of my shirt. Kindness is when this CFO told my beautiful interracial queens, you have a great dad. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. May Asensio is next, and Lance Lunsford is on deck.
Good evening, Board. I'm sure all of you are aware of how fast artificial intelligence is infiltrating our everyday lives. So fast, in fact, that our local, state, and federal laws are not able to keep up with it. It's the reason that Tom Hanks and other celebrities have appeared on videos and social media, but in reality, it was not them. Someone was able to duplicate their image using AI and have them say whatever they wanted. But I'm not here to talk about celebrities. Children is the focus of this topic. There are other examples of recent news stories where AI has been abused to exploit children. But let me speak about one. In the news recently is the story of a 14-year-old high school student in New Jersey. Her mom is fighting to change laws regarding AI because her daughter's face was used to generate a fake nude image and circulated among her classmates by another student. This happened to her and several other female students at Westfield High in New Jersey. This mom is taking her fight to her state representative and senator to get legislation regulating AI passed at the state and federal level. Incredible that AI has exploded as quickly as it has, and that laws do not exist to protect us, especially children, or that determine accountability. Right now in New Jersey, it is not a significant crime to take a person's face and attach a pornographic image to it. Only a few AI bills or resolutions were introduced in Florida in the past couple of years, but I could not find anything related to education or children. This technology is evolving much quicker than laws can be placed on the books to protect our rights and that of our children's privacy. But I tell you this story today to make the board aware that this is a potential and, of course, very serious issue that may come up in our own schools. And we do well to be proactive and prepared and think of solutions before that happens. School districts around the country are dealing with challenges and impacts of AI and other technology available to students at any time and anywhere. So please, board, ensure that Indian River County has safeguards in place to prevent this from occurring on our network and school-issued devices. Please ensure that there are clear guidelines for this new technology so it is used responsibly. And now more than ever, it is crucial that we enforce our code of conduct cell phone policy to not have cell phones out in schools. And also, please review the code of conduct cell phone policy to see if any changes may be warranted in light of this new technology and awful trend. Thank you.
Thank you. Lance Lunsford is our last speaker.
It's very tempting to make the best for last joke, but I won't do it. Members of the school board, first of all, congratulations, Ms. Berenborg, as the new school board chair. And Dr. Jones, it was a pleasure to work with you over the past years in your tenure as chair. I'd like to thank the board for the productive relationship we had last year at the Taxpayers Association. As many of you know, I've had the privilege of serving as the chair of our school district committee, and I'd like to quickly recognize two of our committee members, Susan Aguirre and Rob McCallum, for their service in keeping taxpayers informed on the issues of the school district. Being as this is the first school board meeting after the annual organization meeting that you all had, I usually don't like to speak at a school board meeting or a public function if I don't have something to say. I was an economics student, so of course, supply and demand, the greater the quantity, the lower the price. But I do have something to say this evening, and I think it's probably the most important question anyone could ask. Why are we here? I would offer it's because at the crux of what we do is the belief that every student, every citizen has a divine spark of value within them. And therefore, each citizen, each student has the capability of transforming this world and having a profound destiny that we all must respect. That's a pretty inspiring mission. And the framework I would offer for how we in this community and this school board should go forward is obviously the superintendent and his administrators are focusing on the business of education. But as school board, you are public officials, beyond just school individuals, beyond just educators, you are leaders in our civilian community. And as far as our work is concerned in preserving and respecting the taxpayer dollar and advocating for that, we want to establish the same productive working relationship going forward. And I would say that beyond what you've heard tonight in the spirit of kindness, I've spoken before this board on the subject of civility. I would say that civility and kindness are great values, and we should aspire to them in our personal lives. But those values without action mean nothing. To sort of make an inspiration off of the banner behind you, it's like a flower that doesn't bloom. And so I would say we should go forward not just to be educators and achieve benchmarks and statistical analysis that we typically conduct when we go before these things. We should look at it as trying to create a visionary education system that prepares students for the 21st century, not just the 20th century. I look forward to working with you all. I look forward to working with you, Ms. Berenborg, in your capacity as chair. And I would say let's do great things to do and achieve in our community and respect and cherish the taxpayer dollars that empower this board and these administrators and these schools to do great things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lance. All right. Board members, anyone want to, Dr. Moore, would you like to speak?
Just a few comments. So the schools district currently has 14 openings in terms of teacher vacancies. We've never had over 14 from the very first day of school. We have over 1,200 teachers. You do the math on that percent. Just last week, I was asked to have Ms. Christofoli come and speak regarding the work that we do to have such a high percent of vacancies filled. She was actually out of town, so I went and problem solved with superintendents who were having a hard time filling those specific positions. In terms of looking at teachers moving from one class to teach the good kids versus those kids, that's not going to happen. So we do use data to drive instruction. It helps inform the decisions that we need to make to evaluate the impact of instruction. But gone are the days in this county, well, as long as I am here, in which we're going to say those who have the highest skills in teaching need to teach those who have the highest need for quality teachers. And we have a decision tree in place, and we adhere to that on a daily basis. In terms of free and reduced lunch, we continue to grow that number and be very strategic in making sure any child who does need a free or reduced lunch doesn't feel impacted or shamed regarding that opportunity to receive that hot meal. And the truth of the reality is that may be the only meals they have. So we are going to make sure that we work with those families in order to make that happen. This is my 29th year in education, and I've never seen a group of teachers across the entire system who care more about their kids, because those kids in their classrooms are their neighbors. They go to church with them. Overwhelming high percent of our teachers graduated and went and walked in our halls. In terms of third grade proficiency or scores, we were 31 of 67. 31 of 67 in 18-19. And that is something each and every single person should be ashamed of. Currently, we're number 7 in the state with a reading proficiency of 60% for the state of Florida. That is significant growth. We're 10 percentage points above the state of Florida in terms of its overall percent. So to move from 31 to 7 really speaks to the depth and the quality and focus of what we're doing to ensure that we do have third graders reading at 90%. And why is that so important? Not only is it a great predictor for their future success, having students proficient in third grade is one of the most cost-effective ways to run the system. It is extremely expensive to remediate a student, but if we can get them at 3, 4, and 5 by third grade, their trajectory changes. Note taken. The percent of level 5s and level 4s needs to grow. That needs to grow drastically. We should not and will not teach to the middle. If you're a level 5 in third grade, you better be a level 3rd in 10th grade because you've defined that you have the potential. And that is ensuring that we have the ability to differentiate instruction on both ends for the high-achieving students and the students who need the additional support. I think that summarizes my remarks, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Dr. Jones.
I have a few. To Ms. Gibbs, I do agree recruiting and retention is a key issue here in the district. I just talked with Mr. Fagan a couple days ago. I saw an article from Duval County, how they're looking at raising the teacher salaries so that we can keep these teachers, and it's very, very important that we do that. I just talked with Dr. Moore today about the GoFundMe for Mr. Valia from Oslo Middle. They have raised over $12,000, and I want to continue to recognize that here at the board. And I talked with his daughter the other day. He wanted to make sure that no student didn't have a lunch. And what we have, and I saw it from a middle school principal to a high school principal, we'll have a Title I middle school, but when they get to high school, they don't fill out the form. They don't fill out the form because they don't want people to know. And I witnessed that every day as a high school principal, and we would check on that. And a lot of people gave money to make sure that those children ate. And so I want to make sure that we recognize that because they just wrote a $6,000 check, I believe, to Sebastian Middle and then Oslo Middle. Okay. Thanks to all who spoke about the African American standards. Ms. Idolette, I don't know if they're in your upward bound, but they were fantastic. And yes, ma'am, we listened to them. It's very much public record that I wrote a letter to the governor, the commissioner, and the State Board of Education. Like Mr. Brown said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. To have these specific African American standards, if you look through them, it's a very long report. Some are good, but the one regarding the clarification in the middle school, saying that there was a personal benefit. Thank you to Ms. Berenborg for writing the letter. I didn't get a letter back, so I called the DOE and the social studies guy, Mr. Dubell. We had a good conversation. We both listened. I don't think we moved either one, but if I believe in something, I'm going to fight for it, and I ask everybody else and the students, thank you. Thank you for your personal feeling about this, because it is important. As Lance said in his speech, you have to value everyone, and that is key. We are a diverse community. I am proud of the diversity in the public schools, and we want everyone to be successful for the 21st century. We've got a lot of work to do. Mr. Barsh, your speech on kindness was to the point. There are so many good things going on, and sometimes we don't talk about them. I look forward to seeing you on Friday when you pick up things. I still have to do some shopping, but I will get there. Mr. Flint, I have visited the African American Student Council at Vero Beach High School twice. I have been to the LGBTQ club at Sebastian River High School. I worry about our marginalized students. I worry about the rules and the laws. So I want to make sure that every child in this district feels value and never feels marginalized. Why I went to the LGBTQ group at Sebastian, I saw them at the homecoming parade, and they said, how are you doing? Dr. Jones, these new rules make us nervous. So I went and listened to them. And I think that's important, that they see people who represent this county, this school board, this community, that they are there. So I think it's very important. I'm sorry, I had one more thing. So, and Mrs. Bowling, about your letter, we have talked about that as a board. I don't know if that will happen, but even when I spoke to the DOE social studies guy, Mr. DeBell, again, we didn't agree on some, but he understood. He understood where I was coming from. I understood on some of the things he said, because again, some of those are good. But, we as a board representing these students, our public school students, our public charter school students, it is important that everyone feels value. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have some questions. I have some questions for the superintendent. There were some concerning statements that were made, and so I just want I have some clarifying questions, or some questions that I'd like you to clarify, Dr. Moore. Number one, have the African American standards already been approved by the DOE?
Through the chair, they have been approved to be implemented next school year.
I'm sorry?
To be implemented next school year, yes.
Okay. And you recently said, we do not teach the clarifying statement. Can you confirm, or has that changed? You said it at a board meeting.
We teach the standards, and they do provide clarifying statements to help you understand the depth of the standard. So by teaching the clarifying statement, you are in fact teaching the standard.
I know, but you said at a board meeting, we don't teach the clarifying statement. That was your
Right.
quote.
But
So
that is
correct
correct
or no?
because it stands beneath the standard. The standard does not, you have to take the standard into consideration. A clarifying statement is clarifying
The
what
standard.
exactly you would be teaching. But
Okay.
you start with the standard and you use that to get a deeper understanding in terms of what exactly does that standard mean.
I understand. I'm just asking you to clarify what you previously said about the clarifying statement. I have another question. Does Moms for Liberty dictate what we teach?
We know the answer to that.
Can you answer the question, please?
Of course not.
Okay. Does Moms for Liberty determine our curriculum?
Not on my watch.
Okay. No, just in general, too, even from
Everybody
all of your.
else's.
Okay, thank you. Have we engaged in banning critical race theory books?
No.
Have we engaged in book banning in general, or curating our libraries based on legislation?
We do books, but everything is aligned 100% to state requirements.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming forward and speaking and being kind when you speak. Let's continue this mantra. I really like that. We've gone through a lot, all of us, as a community, over the last couple of years, and I think we need to reach out and be more kind and listen to each other. Not defend so much, but to listen and try to reach out with that olive branch. For the AI comment, where'd she go? Mrs. Sensio? Okay, I'll contact her about that, because that sounds like something for a legislator, so I'd like to listen to that and bring it up as a legislative issue up in Tallahassee. All righty, we are moving on. So at this time, I need an approval for consent agenda items. I'm going to call for a motion to approve consent agenda items as amended.
I make a motion.
Mrs. Rosario?
Second.
All right, who got it? Who wants it? Barefoot, got it. Okay, and any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's a 4-0 vote. Dr. Jones, you came in right at the end of the vote. Approval of consent items. Would you like to approve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 5-0 vote. Thank you. Thank you for leaving quietly. We appreciate it. All right. Approval of 2023-10-9 Superintendent Workshop minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second?
So we've got Dr. Pasca on the motion. Got the second by Dr. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. And approval of the workshop minutes from October 23rd, sorry. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the way that this is here,
Be here
thank
all
you,
night,
thank you,
you're
thank you. I appreciate that. So, thank you. Yeah, we'll talk about how to organize these. Makes it a little easier. All right, so, yeah, thank you. So now we're to pulled from consent, correct? Let's see. Let me get down to that. Yes. Okay, so item 7A was pulled from consent. Dr. Moore, would you like to present the item? And Mrs. Rosario pulled the item.
Before we go to the item that was pulled from consent, Madam Chair, we already approved the personnel recommendations. Dr. Moore, would you like to announce the new position for CFO?
So we do, well, thank you, Ms. Rosario. Thank you.
The
Mr.
interim.
Bruce Green, who is with us, will be joining us as Chief Financial Officer, and I'm sure he's extremely nervous after watching the presentation for Mr. Fagan today. So we welcome him to the team.
Dr. Moore, in the past, you've had cabinet members come up and speak. Would you like to do that?
You put this man on the spot. Would you like to?
Oh, yes, always. Get used to it.
He's used to it. He's done this before.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dr. Moore, thank you very much. I think it was a perfect evening to be here. All I'll say is good to be home. And I look forward to continuing the work that Mr. Fagan has done, which has been outstanding for the students in this community. And kindness speaks volumes. So that's what I'm looking forward to, those relationships and continuing that work. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to getting started right away.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to the team. All right.
All right, Mr. Bass, if you'd present the item.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Through the chair, the item is a 4.5% salary increase for all non-bargaining employees. That would be administrators and pro-tech staff, confidential managerial positions. This mirrors the 4.5% the CWA got this year as a whole in their negotiations. It impacts 267 employees, and we are excited to bring this to you in efforts to help raise the pay for these people, keep these people, and also attract additional people as positions may open.
Okay, thank you for the information you provided, and now call for a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
A second.
Dr. Pasca, Mrs. Rosario.
You do have a speaker, madam.
We have a
Chair.
speaker on this, yes. Hold on one second. Okay. 7A, Mr. Marsh. Shocking. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, it's nice this night. That's not nice. Good evening. Just want to say in full support, anytime there's a salary increase for these amazing individuals. It's a shame it's not 14.5, but you know, it's a good running start. And for time's sake, I will say good night. Be kind.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's all I have for that item. And now we're to this has discussion and then vote, but I believe we have to recognize the board member that pulled the item before we vote. We'll get this order. All right, Ms. Rosario.
I just pulled it because it's not routine. It should have been in action, and so we needed to pull it and bring it into action.
It's in action. Go ahead.
No, that's all. I don't have
Okay.
anything else to say about it.
All right. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 5-0. All right. Appointment of, let's see where we are. Yeah, we need to get this in order. All right. Appointment of the President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer of the Leasing Corporation. So the purpose of this action item is to officially designate the chairman of the district school board as president, vice chairman of the district school board as the vice president, and the superintendent of schools as the secretary treasurer of the leasing corporation as per the bylaws of the corporation. Chairman calls for a vote to accept president, vice president, secretary treasurer of the leasing corporation.
So move.
Okay, Dr. Jones? Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on. What item am I on? 10. I don't have a speaker for 10.
Oh, no, I'm there.
Okay.
I'll wait.
It's blank. on
Pause
10.
my time.
It's there. It's very first one.
She's got top, okay, I'm looking over here. Got it. I'll get
That's
to-
okay,
I'll
I'll
get to
skip
know the
this one,
form.
thank you.
Sorry, this
No,
is a
I'm
new
all set.
form. All right. We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
You sure? Okay, got it. I see where we are now. All righty. We are to, I got a motion from Dr. Jones, I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Rosario? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's 5-0 vote. Okay. Let me look. I'm on item, that's the other thing, I can't see the numbers. All right, 10B, we have, this is the approval of appointment of citizen to the Indian River County Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, County Citizen Advisory Committee for Transportation, and an alternate for this voting position. This is a volunteer position that began on September 11, 2012. The term of this position coincides with the board's organization meeting. The CAC meets every other month at 2 p.m. in the County Administration Building B, Conference Room B1-501. Last year, the position was filled by Mr. McCallum as the citizen member, with Mr. Andros as the alternate. Board members will submit names and vote on both the committee citizen member and an alternate citizen to serve. Call for names of citizens to serve as committee members and or alternate. Before we do that, we have a speaker. Mr. Andros.
Good evening, board. My name's Jeff Andros. How's it say, long-time listener, first-time speaker? I say on the radio. I submitted my application in time. According to board docs, nobody else has. I did some public records request after I submitted and checked, and apparently there's some controversy with me being selected and the only one who put it in. So I'm here to say I followed the rules, and curious to see what the problem is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. So I'd like to call for names of citizens to serve. Oh, sorry.
Ouch, it hurts, Mrs. Barenberg, it hurts.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Marsh.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Michael Marsh, and I'd like to speak to item 10B. First off, I have a little question there. From my time proudly serving as MPO, I remember we had to do these reports, so I don't see that on board docs. Through the chair, I'd like to do a public records request for the report that got submitted from the individual that served on the MPO, because I know there's a report that's attached to this, so I look forward to getting that whenever public records gets caught up. Also, I remember there was some controversy on the alternate position, so I have a little question. There's no alternate. I would proudly serve once again if you'd like me to be the alternate. I would love to. Just in case Mr. Andros is busy, I'm here to put in work. So I know we mentioned a few times, do we need to have an alternate? I do not believe that this board has deleted that position, so I believe there's still room for an alternate. So since there's nobody else, I'll come back. It was great. You know, MPO, work was good. Work will continue to be good. Systems in place. So that's all I wanted to say. I wish everyone good luck that applied. Deadline is the deadline. We follow rules, laws, statutes. And so I look proud to serve as your alternate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Scott Keith is also a speaker.
Hi there.
Hello.
My name is Scott Keith, and I am a resident of Vero Beach, and the father of school-age children. And I would like to speak to these appointments. I understand that there's only one person that submitted their application, and I had been talking with some friends. We want to get involved with some of these committees and get more involved with the schools. And we didn't know about the deadline, and we were not able to get applications in and on time. And so I was wondering if the board would consider opening it up. I understand there's one applicant that applied to all the board positions, and it would be, I would think, a good idea to cast the net a little wider. I'd also like to point out that on the third committee, the Value Adjustment Board Committee, it does have a requirement that the person must own a business occupying commercial space located within the school district. And the question is whether the applicant that's applied to all these positions satisfies that requirement.
That's not this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your words. All right, so at this time, I'd like to call for a motion. The motion is because, let's see. The citizen that applied for the position was Jeff Andros, and there were no other applicants, correct, Dr. Moore?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a motion for us as a board to put forward Jeffrey Andros' name.
I'll move that.
We have the discussion after the motion.
And I'll second it.
All right, so, all right, hold on.
Mr. Barefoot.
Yep, got it. All right, Jones. All right, we'll have discussion. Go ahead, Dr. Posca.
Sure, I'll start. I have a little bit of concern about this. My understanding is Mr. Jeff Andros, you can't hear? My understanding is Mr. Jeffrey Andros runs a political consulting business where he represents people who run for office in this town, including our school board. And, you know, I think one concern I have is if we have members of this board who have paid that individual money to represent their campaign, and other school board members who have run in the past or maybe running in the upcoming election, nominating him to be on a committee, you know, it looks a lot like preferential treatment or potentially garnering favor through this process. At the end of the day, politics is about favors and power. So when he goes and advertises himself as a political consultant to other young budding politicians in this county, he can brag about how he's on various committees and roles in the district and look at how much power I have and how connected I am. And I think, you know, while we are probably not breaking any rules if we go ahead with this, I think it really clearly to me is improper that literally there's people on this board who have used him to run campaigns and probably will again, and we're going to give him a position in our district. It seems improper.
All right, thank you. I'd like to actually ask the attorney to weigh in on that comment, please.
Your policy on conflict of interest is essentially tracks the voting conflict statute under 112.3143. And what it says is a board member shall not vote in an official capacity on any matter which would inure to his/her special gain or loss. Hold that term, special gain or loss, or to the special gain or loss of a principal by whom he, she's, s/he is retained, or to the parent organization or a subsidiary of a corporate principal by which S/she is retained, or to the special gain or loss of a relative or business associate. If what you're saying is accurate, the applicant may be a business associate, but what a special private gain or loss is under the ethics statute is, quote, an economic benefit or harm that would inure to the officer, his or her relative, business associate, or principal, and then there's a whole bunch of exceptions. It would have to be a direct economic benefit, and you're talking about an application for essentially an advisory committee for the MPO, and whatever the concerns might be, I don't think it falls under the special private gain or loss under the statute or the policy.
Okay, so the board member does not have to recuse himself? Is that what you're saying?
Not for that.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Rosario?
Yeah, I have concerns, and it not necessarily towards Mr. Andros as the person, as an applicant, but over the process of how the district moved forward with noticing these vacancies. There are a lot of, what I was told is that the applicants or the positions were posted on the website, and that we received these notifications or the vacancies in an email to us, but that's it. So not everyone in the community goes on the website. Not everyone in the community understands that what these positions are and how they could benefit the community. And so we did not do this year what we did last year, and one of the things that is missing this year that we didn't do last year was publicly state it and publicly notice or make an announcement at our business meetings and our workshops that these positions were going to be available on X date, and the applications are out there, and please apply by a certain date if you are interested. You know, that kind of brings to the table, you know, a lot of community members who might be interested in holding these positions and applying. I don't think that we did a fair job at that. I know we're not, can we actually, because what I'm gonna also mention is something with the VAB, which is a comment that.
Can we discuss that one when we get to that one?
Well, I think it kind of goes into my point. Is, you know, we are, and I'll get there when we get to the VAB, is that we are going to be short one person and an alternate, and it's not appropriate to just, you know, solicit people, you know, at the whim at our board meeting without giving proper notice to the entire community of people who might be interested. And so I really have issue with this. It should have been much more forward-facing, and we should have been much more transparent with it.
So, Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
may?
I was going to ask if you would like to respond to that.
So, Mr. Rosario is right. We did not do what we've done in previous years. We did much more. In previous years, it was advertised for about 14 to 16 days. This year was advertised for 21 days. It was also placed in the newspaper as well as our webpage. It was also placed in the weekly email that's sent to board members, which is entitled Talking Points. Typically, board members would use those when they're out in the community talking about whatever is going on in the community. Also in preparation for their upcoming radio interviews that they do, typically Bob Seuss. I know Doc Jones spoke about this specific these positions because I heard it on the radio.
So did I.
So we did do significantly more than we had done in the past in terms of the length of time. as well as communicating it to board members to spread that information when they're with their constituents. In terms of the number of people who have applied historically over the course of the last 5 years, we've unfortunately only had one applicant pretty much every year going back to 2018, with the exception of last year, where we did have 2 or 3 individuals for the positions that we're discussing now interview or apply, sorry.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, I'm going to call for a motion.
I'd like to say one last thing.
Okay, hold on, we got one more last comment. Go ahead.
Did you want to say?
Mr. Barefoot, did you have a comment? No, he was going to do the motion.
Yeah, okay. No, I would just say that I'm not an attorney and I can't disagree with you, sir. But my simplistic view of this is politics is power and connections, and if we have board members that are paying money to a political consultant, and then that political consultant is getting positions and committee positions that they can use to show their political power, that's a direct gain. And this is just the wrong way to run a government agency. It's wrong. It's how you run a pharmaceutical company or a bank. This is the wrong way to run a government agency.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment about that. If it was a bunch of people that applied and we were choosing one person over another, I could see that argument. But we have one person that applied, and they applied by the rules. And we're always a stickler for the rules on this dais, so we're going to stick to the rules. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Hold on, you went too fast. I'll say aye.
Okay, 4-1. Congratulations, Mr. Andros. You get to volunteer.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I just make a suggestion?
Sure.
You need the mic.
Brian.
Oh, sorry about that. Perhaps to avoid this in the future, we might ask the attorney and the superintendent to maybe review and maybe be a little more specific, so there's less subject to interpretation, let's say, if that's possible, for any of these positions, because the point that Dr. Posca raises is, in some people's minds, it might be a valid point, and I just don't want any individual who volunteers his time or her time to serve in one of these positions to be denied based on, not to be denied, but let's say to have their credibility questioned because of something that's perceived as some sort of a conflict. And I don't know whether maybe the statute and the policies are clear enough, but if there's any ability to clarify, further clarify, so that we don't have these kinds of concerns expressed, I would be in favor of that.
I'd like to add one.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Dr. Johnson.
Just in response to that, because I am running, I have paid no money to a political consultant ever.
Okay. We are on to 10C. This approval of appointment of citizen to the Indian River County School Planning Citizen Oversight Committee. We had one applicant. It is Peter Robson. He was
Two
served.
speakers.
I'm sorry?
2 speakers.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I need to finish my statement
All right,
here.
just trying to coach out the next year.
Peter Robinson has served on the committee since its inception in 2003 as the citizen member, and Augustine Curran as the alternate first year. The purpose of this committee is to monitor implementation of the interlocal agreement and to report to participating local governments, the district school board, and the general public on the effectiveness with which the interlocal agreement is being implemented. The committee meets once per year on a date and time to be determined. Mr. Robinson submitted a yearly report and agreed to do an additional term. Board members will vote on this appointment. We do have 2 speakers. Mr. Andros.
Good evening again. clarify a couple things. This gentleman back here said I applied for all positions. I did, but I pulled back when I found out there was someone in this position we're talking about now. So not muddying the waters, thanks. To clarify what just happened before, Dr. Posca does not speak for me. Dr.
Mr.
Posca
Andrews,
knows nothing about my business.
Mr. Andrews, I have to have you speak just to this item, sorry.
Well, I did apply for the item, so it
Oh,
goes
okay.
against my
But
overall.
speak to this item, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was going to stay on. So I own 3 businesses that are all licensed and insured. I have no school board members that are clients of mine. If I did, it's none of your business. But I'm thinking about opening a 4th business tomorrow. Maybe I can help certain people who are unsuccessful become successful. Give me a call. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marsh, would you like to speak?
That's who you guys voted.
That's what, yeah,
That's who you voted
that's
for.
not appropriate.
Mr. Marsh?
No, thank you. I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
That's unbelievable.
All right, we are on 10C. I'm going to, since we have one applicant.
Did we vote?
And, not yet, there is no alternate, it says yes, okay. Call for name of citizen to serve as committee member and/or an alternate. So it can be and/or, doesn't have to be both. We had one name. I need to read the information in the public content. I think I already did that, correct?
You did.
All right, it doesn't say public content. We'll go over this. Whew. All right, so I need to call for a motion. Someone give me a motion?
I'll make a motion.
On Mr. Robinson being approved as the appointment of the citizen to the Indian River County School Board Planning Citizen Oversight Committee.
I make a motion.
And I
I'll
second.
second. Or Dr. Jones can second.
Okay, Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Okay, we have item D, 10D, approval of appointment of citizen to the County Commission's Value Adjustment Board, VAB, for this voting position. I need to reference Florida State Statute 194.015. The Value Adjustment Board is an independent forum created by the Florida Statute Chapter 194 to provide property owners with an opportunity to appeal their property value or denial of an exemption, classification, or tax deferral. The committee meets each year as needed. The appointment will be effective upon approval by the County Commission. Augustine Curran was appointed by the school board last year. The position is for a calendar year tax cycle. The applicants were one, we have Jeffrey Andros that applied, no others. I need to call for an motion.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Mr. Barefoot and Dr. Jones. Any discussion on this item?
Yes.
Ms. Rosario, you're recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Andros does not qualify for this position by statute. The position states that you must own a business occupying commercial space located within the school district. And on his application, he said that he does not own a business occupying commercial space located within the school district.
Okay, Ms. Rosario, I'm going to stop you, I'm sorry. I do have another speaker. Okay, we're on D. Jeffrey Andros is our first speaker, sorry.
Sorry.
I'll get this, do better. We have new forms that I'm not used to.
Oh, no worries. I was going to clear this up anyway. That question's asked on every form. Not sure why. But I do own 3 businesses. I have 3 business licenses, 3 business EINs. I pay taxes and insurances on all of them. The county has a thing through zoning where you pay, I think it was $150. They let you run the business out of your home. They change the zoning, but they don't. And it's all filed. It's all public record. I am not disqualified from this. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marsh.
Good evening. Michael Marshall, Mike for Liberty. We'd just like to proudly endorse Mr. Andros. Good night.
All right, Ms. Rosario.
Yeah, so it does say occupying commercial space, not that you don't that you, and this is the statute, the law, not the local ordinance. So commercial space is a physical building or physical place within the school district, not an online business or something that you're doing from home. So commercial space located within the school district, and on the application, it says that he does not qualify for that. So,
Okay, hold 1 second. I'm going to defer to the attorney. Can you refer to commercial space, please? Or give us a definition?
So, let me just step through this. The statute was amended in 2008. The statute authorizes 2 citizen members of the board. Previously, it was 3 BCC, 2 school board members. Qualification for the citizen from the county is that they own homestead property. The school board rep must own a business occupying commercial space located within the school district. There's one Attorney General opinion. The Attorney General opinion, 2008-56, hits every point except for the commercial space definition. It stated that a person to own a business, because ownership was not defined, they deferred to dictionary. Ownership, rightfully have or possesses property. Business, couple of definitions. One, a commercial enterprise carried on for profit. What they noted was there was parallel set of Attorney General opinions regarding the CRA statute, which was very similar. And the CRA statute, Community Redevelopment Agency, talked about being engaged in business, saying it's slightly different from ownership. But there is also an AGO, and this is the problem with using local standards. I think it was to the city of Castleberry, where the city of Castleberry asked a similar question, which was, can we require an applicant to show that they have a business to have, to demonstrate that they have business licenses locally? And the Attorney General said that's outside of what the actual requirements are of the statute, and you cannot. You cannot ask for these additional, which may sound counterintuitive, but it's what the AG did. So I then go to Webster's to try to define commercial space, as did the other AGOs. And it doesn't really match well when you parse the definitions. There are terms of commercial space in both real estate and legal terms, which mostly talk about commercial space in context of a separate establishment that one leases or one owns. Not all of them say that, but most of them say that. Honestly, given the magnitude of the board that we're talking about and the fact that when you're talking about the definitions of the local code, it's commercial use rather than commercial space, and I'm not sure that we can even use it. My recommendation, given the magnitude of a VAB and what the role is that I be authorized to ask the Florida Attorney General, which is by law supposed to turn it around in 30 days, what the definition is in their opinion, because frankly, it's clear there's a schism in interpretations here, and frankly, the Castleberry case that, or Attorney General opinion that I mentioned previously was counter to what I would have expected, which was, of course, you would look at what the local standards are. It's a state statute we're interpreting, and I would like to defer to General Ashley Moody's office if at all possible.
Okay, so it's clear as mud.
But I recognize that, and I'm sorry.
All right. Superintendent, what would you like to advise this board, in your opinion, to do?
Well, your attorney just advised you to have the opportunity to go in and
Asking the
get,
superintendent's opinion. Sorry.
to get a legal opinion from the Attorney General. So I would table the item and allow him the opportunity to seek that guidance and bring back to the board the Attorney General's recommendation or feedback.
Okay, I move to take this from the table, and we're going to table it until next board meeting. I was looking to see if I needed a vote on that.
I don't know if you would, Madam Chair, point of order, does the chair make the motion for that, or does she need a motion from the floor to do that?
I believe I can make a motion. Motions bring.
She can make a motion. Hold on.
I can make a
I'm
motion,
asking
correct?
the attorney.
Thank you. All right, and it says do not interrupt, so there we have it.
There wasn't any interruption.
It says,
We're waiting for the attorney to
it says do
respond.
not interrupt when someone says, I move to take from the table. I ask for a second.
Second.
Okay. The debate is no. Amend, no. We need a majority vote. Question was made, do I have the right to make a motion as the chair?
Too late now.
Thank you. No, it's not. We haven't voted. All right, so I'd like to vote to table this item. And we don't need to vote, right? I want to just make sure. I want to. We do need a vote. Okay, so it needs to be a majority vote to table this item to our next board meeting. All those in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed to tabling? Okay, it's 5-0 table. We will see this on our next board agenda meeting. All right. Hold for any discussion items. I have a speaker, but there are no discussion items, Mr. Marsh. Okay. But I will say that this paper was underneath every other one, so it says Public Hearing Adoption of Policies, Volume 24, Number 2. I'm trying to figure out where that was. Is this item something that we voted in consent tonight? I didn't think so. I don't know how this came up. I've got a paper here that you put at the top of it. It says, Citizen Input Speaker Docket, Public Hearing, Adoption of Policies, Volume 24, Number 2. But we didn't have anything on my agenda for that. Excuse me? I can't hear you.
December.
We're just proactive.
Okay, so you handed this to me for a speaker for tonight. There's no date on it, so I'm going to give it back to you. Okay? All right, not a problem. We'll move on. Sorry, Mr. Marsh, we have no item on that. Member matters. Who would like to go first? Mr. Barefoot.
I'll start. There's been plenty of coverage, and this relates to MPO. There's been plenty of coverage in the newspaper about everybody who writes has offered an opinion. At the last MPO meeting, it was quite interesting. I would say 95% of the voting members were in favor of leaving the twin pairs alone rather than narrowing them. there were very persuasive arguments. I'll just speak for myself. I raised the question, one, when the transportation survey was done, it was May. Obviously, a lot of the seasonal residents had left, and it was also before Brightline is sending 32 trains through here, and while they may go through in 5 seconds, the fact of the matter is the gates go up and down, and it slows everything down for that period of time. The other point that was made is that what's been discussed is parallel parking. And you can imagine somebody's going along, and I don't know how adept many people are at parallel parking these days. Back when I had to get a license, you had to be able to parallel park or you flunked.
On a hill.
Maybe, well, but one can imagine that all of a sudden, there's a spot, and there are 51 spots allocated in the proposal. You can imagine somebody going down, all of a sudden somebody pulls out, and the person that wants that space jams on the brakes, and boom, you've got a rear ender. Or they manage to get into that parking spot without blocking traffic, and they open their door to get out, and the door gets taken off. Those were some of the more persuasive and common sense arguments against. I think there's one more meeting at the community center coming up here shortly. For those of you who have a point of view, be sure you pass it along to the new Vero Beach City Council. And it was interesting, I asked Mayor Cotugno, why does the city have to decide now as opposed to do another survey before Easter when everything is crowded and the trains will have been running for several months? And that was the deadline that the State Department of Transportation put on the city of Vero Beach in order to make a decision, which seems to me the bureaucracy is alive and well. For those of you who have a strong point of view, I would encourage you to weigh in at the next meeting and/or message one or more members of the City of Vero Beach Council. But it's an important decision, I think. And the one other point I would make, there was a couple of comments made by some of the county commissioners at that meeting, that if the objective is to revitalize that section of downtown Vero Beach, the way not to do it is narrow the twin pairs. It's a major east-west road in the state, but the people who own those buildings, the landlords or the owners, ought to spruce it up, spruce up the community. There's some stores, if you're down there, certainly a couple of the restaurants that are attractive, but in general, I can understand why it's not attractive as is Ocean Drive, or maybe perhaps as the Three Corners will be once they get around to making those decisions. So a lot of good conversation, but the bottom line is, unfortunately, the city council is going to be in a position to have to take a vote here sometime before Christmas. I don't remember the exact date. So again, anybody that's got a point of view, please voice it.
Thank you. Dr. Jones?
I have several things. I visited a media center, the Pumpkin Patch, where they were, all the students at Osceola decorated for a literary character. It was absolutely wonderful. The proclamation at the County Commission that I was a part of with my husband with the Vero Beach Be Kind. The county commissioners were recognized this group, and I thank them for coming here tonight. The school choice fair, Dr. Moore, with all our school choices and nonprofits and our charter schools, was really great. Wonderful attendance and having students perform wonderful. Been able to visit 2 charter schools this year, Imagine, and then tomorrow is the 25th anniversary for Indian River Charter School, which my colleague opened, Judy Jones, and they are doing a presentation. Went to the PD for media specialists during our PD day, and our 3 PE people, Diane Parentella, Caitlin O'Neill, Sherry White, doing a great job of the collaboration with all of the libraries. Speaking of libraries, I've been to Sebastian River High School twice. I don't know if I'll get there for the grand opening, but this all began about 1.5 years ago when Ms. Wall presented to us, I think the radar committee, is it Ms. Wall? and the reimagining. And I'm just so excited because no matter what, we want to get the percentage of students checking out books up, because it's not as high as we want in high schools and middle schools. And I know they use different, their iPads, laptops, and so forth, but it is such a welcoming environment. And the Student Advisory Council up there, Dr. Moore, so cool. Wanted to say, when Rachel spoke today, the person who read the poem, I met her at the Poet Laureate's Luncheon a couple weeks ago, and the Poet Laureate of the United States 2000 to 2002, Billy Collins, actually dedicated a poem to her. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. And so after she also wrote one of her original poems and read it at the luncheon, I thought she'd be great to speak when we talk about kindness. Football, I think we know, Sebastian River won their state championship in the Sunshine Athletic Conference. Vero plays Treasure Coast on Friday away, and wish them luck. And I think that is, Unified Sports, we recognize them at the last Vero Beach game. I think they've won 11 championships. They were recognized, and again, that's a group of students who work together, the mainstream students and some of those who are not mainstream, and they've won 11 championships. And again, when I was at the FHSAA, I kind of facilitated that, and for Vero to do that is outstanding.
State championships.
Yeah, state championships. I mean, big. And Veterans Day, I attended Sebastian Elementary for theirs with Mr. Bass, and then Gifford Middle with Dr. Bacon, where we saw the wonderful speaker. And great, great presentations. Thank you.
Ms. Rosario?
I just want to, I want to reiterate how wonderful the school choice fair was. It was just phenomenal. I think every year it gets a little bit better, and there was even an overflow parking lot because there were so many people who attended, which was fantastic. The discipline committee or the code of conduct committee is coming up, so if anybody is interested in that, let me pull that up. I don't know. Does anyone know that offhand? The dates for, I think it's December, starts in December. Yeah, so I'll wait for that. So that if any citizens are interested in sitting on the Code of Conduct Committee, that is coming up soon. They made great waves last year in really revitalizing our Code of Conduct and changing a lot of what we had old to better mirror our statutes and the requirements and the expectations moving forward. Yes, ma'am. Oh.
One is December 5th, and all of the meetings are held from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And the second meeting is January 23rd.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And
that's
will
on
be
our
here.
website. Yes, and that's
on
on
the
our
website.
website in the gallery. You can click on that and get all the information you need.
Perfect. And then lastly, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know that we are coming up on a time where we can all spend with family and friends and eat as much as your heart's content, if you'd like. But other than that, enjoy your time off and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Okay, Dr. Pasca.
Sure. I just want to reiterate and expound upon what we did today at the very end of the meeting. We allowed a person to, and nominated a person to a committee where they have voting rights and power that runs political campaigns in this county. That's my understanding. In fact, they have worked on campaigns for people who have run for this board, and potentially even, my understanding is, someone who is on this board currently and just voted for them. That's my understanding. And, you know, I think that if we think about politics is connections and power, putting someone on a voting board in our county that gets to make decisions on the value of your house or something of that nature, that's clearly a material gain for that individual because politics is power. Now, we can ignore what happened and just move on, but I'm going to say here very clearly, my opinion, that's wrong. That's not how you run a government agency. Maybe that's how you run a bank or a pharmaceutical company. But if you're running a government agency and you're giving people you have financial ties to positions of power locally, that stinks. You know, it stinks a lot like a big pile of rancid meatloaf. You know, it smells like dirty small town politics to me.
Okay, I think we had the attorney address that issue before, but you're welcome to make any statement you want during members' matters, so thank you. I'd like to just reiterate a big congrats to Miss Rachel Finnegan for being the District Principal of the Year, and for Miss Sarah Van Brimmer for being the AP of the Year. I attended the Veterans Breakfast at Gifford Middle School, and that's where I saw Lucas speak. I thought I was the one that invited him, Dr. Moore. All right, anyway, it is kindness time. And so I thank you all for the wonderful messages around the room and for all the people that wear the shirts. And I think as a board and as elected leaders, we need to be a part of that and be kind to people. Learning Alliance, welcome back and thank you. I know Mr. Barefoot attended, I attended. It was our chance to thank people that have donated and have a vested interest in what we're doing with education. And so I really appreciated the fact that we were there to thank them and see how everything's paying off, but also moving forward, you know, keep going. And so they're all committed to keep going, which is great. All right.
Can I,
Yes, sir.
One last thing before I want to, one last time, Mr. Fagan, on behalf of all of us, you've done a marvelous job. Good luck in the future. And to Mr. Green, good luck. You're following a legend, an icon. But seriously, you've done a wonderful job, and have a great holiday season and good luck in your new job. And if you need any advice, just call up Mr. Green and he'll be able to help you out a little bit.
Mr. Fagan, we love you and we'll miss you.
All right. So with that, I'd like to adjourn this meeting unless there is an objection. All right. It is adjourned at 8:37.